the Van de Graaff generator, the most famous piece of physics equipment in the world, invented by Robert Van de Graaff, an American physicist who wanted to demonstrate static friction. And now it's great to see this in person, isn't it? It's great, the electric discharges that occur between yourself, electrons flowing from your hands into this ball, magnificent to see. And of course, it's also the experiment where your hair stands on end, which is fantastic. But here's the thing, how do we photograph this? You might think, well, why would we want to photograph it? It is, of course, much better to see it in person. Yes, it is, absolutely. Get pupils on this apparatus. But here's the thing, if you wanted to take a photograph of it in action for perhaps your school magazine or newspaper or for your website or anything like this, how do you actually physically get the sparks? The thing is about these sparks is they're extremely short-lived. So what this is a photography guide of how to capture sparks. Alrighty then, so let's turn this on. The Veil is rolling. Here is the first piece of information you want to know. The Van de Graaff generator can discharge a very large spark if you get close to it. And it's really advisable not to have it go into your fingertips because of how sensitive they are. Go for the knuckles instead. You see that discharge has actually taken that off. Ah! Okay, the sparks can jump really far and they really hurt if they go into your fingertips. Okay. Okay, so these sparks, I can't really see them with my eyes, but if I turn the lights off, I'm pretty sure I would see them jumping. Alright? But how do I photograph them? They happen so fast that actually taking a photograph at the same moment as they are jumping through the air is almost impossible. So of course we're going to have to use long exposure photography. Right, so here we have a DSLR. You may wonder, why can we not just use like a mobile phone camera for this? Though modern mobile phone cameras are brilliant in low light, and they can also take photographs with exposures of up to 30 seconds, they're not well suited for this. And the reason is because of some technology that they actually have built into them that comes from astronomy. In astronomy, noise affects all of the images. The CCD that records those photons of light also accidentally records thermal photons or thermal electrons and thinks that it's a light signal. As a consequence, it means that each of the images is noisy, and more noisy when the ISO is higher. The sensitivity has been put up, and so it picks up more noise as well as more signal. So what are we to do? Well, what happens with a mobile phone is it actually takes multiple pictures and then adds them together. It's called co-adding of the image frames, and what this does is it multiplies the signal and divides the noise, getting a nice crisp image of the night sky or friend's birthday party or whatever it is you're trying to photograph. Now, because it does this, what happens is a spark that appeared on one of those images has not appeared on all of them, and so the camera ultimately cancels it out as if it's noise. What we need is an old-fashioned camera like this DSLR. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to manual just here, and we're going to turn it on and have a little look. At the moment, I have got here a 10-second exposure, and I have the F number right down. Okay, so we're going to see what this produces. Right, okay folks, we're totally in the dark. I can't see a thing. I'm going to try to get round here to turn on the Van de Graaff generator. Let's give it a go. And then I think it's on. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to start my exposure, and hopefully, here we go. Okay, so I'm getting the sparks, and what hopefully is happening is this 10-second exposure is going as we speak, and there we go, it's finished. We'll take a little look at what we've detected. Oh my gosh, check that out. Look at it, it's amazing. Check out the one before, look at that, look at the tendrils. of electricity coming away. Look at that, all of them hitting my hand moving between each one, so my hand is invisible. That is absolutely amazing. But what we do have to also consider is the composition of the shot. So where I've got this right now, it's kind of on the edge of a table and I'm only getting lightning basically in one direction, and I want to get it going all the way around the ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition this so that I can move all the way around it and get struck by lightning from multiple directions. There's one other thing which I'm going to do which really hurts, and that is I'm going to hang on to the earth lead with my other hand, meaning that the discharges through me will be much stronger than without. Now, you know, my hand is already blistering due to the constant electric shocks, but I think this is worth it. So let's have a go. Now, a really useful way of I'll just change the camera angle so you can see, is go over here. The earth lead itself, I can literally just take this whole thing, it's plugged into the earth over here, and I can just make sure that I have it in the other hand. This will allow me to get really strong electric shocks off this over here. So we'll give that a go, we'll reposition, and we'll try to go for that killer shot where the lightning is going in all directions. Now, one of the things that was evident in that capture was that there was still some ambient light in the room. We did it with the lights off, but little LEDs and security lighting and little things that are flashing like this actually contributed to the light in the room. We want no light at all, so that we're totally lit up by the electrical discharge. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape to cover over all of the flashy things, and then with a pen, I'm just going to colour in over the top. Now, this masking tape isn't so thick, so I'm going to do several layers like this and just colour over the top, and eventually we will block out all of the light coming from these LEDs. And that means we should have as dark a room as it possibly is to get. Another thing we could do, because some light is going to leak in underneath these blinds, is we could do it at night time, but it's not entirely necessary. We'll do it as best we can, and then we'll just deal with that. So we'll just have a quick look around. Are there any more LEDs on anywhere? Well, let's go and have a look with the lights off. Right, okay, so I think this is a better setup. Right, we've got a completely clear background. So even though it's dark, a long exposure isn't going to expose details of the background. So a non-fussy background is going to make a better shot. Also, I can move all the way around this and make sure that I get shocks everywhere. Now, I'm going to try it first with my hand, and then I'm going to try it with the earthing ball. I think this earthing sphere here is going to produce really crisp lightning bolts, whereas I think my hand, it'll be more diffuse, it'll be more like St. Elmo's fire. So we'll give it a go and see if there's any difference. Right, I've had a little breakthrough of how to get really long sparks. It's about earthing me. What I found is that a better earth than the actual earthing sphere is the actual metal chain that goes to the blinds behind. When that touched me, the sparks were like this long. So we're going to give it another go, lights off, and see what we get. It really hurts. Let's do it. Perfect. Wow, just look at that! Gosh, that's amazing. And you know, the involuntary muscle spasms that I now have in my heavily blistered hand were worth it. Just look, and let's see what else we've got. That's good, but very asymmetric. Just absolutely incredible. Out of focus, out of focus. Now that is what we get when we do it with the earthing rod. You see, the discharges are very clear and crisp. And this is when we first noticed the St. Elmo's fire wandering around near the earth lead. Here, again, the Elmo's fire on the right-hand side with some longer discharges. That was a shot that went wrong. Again. And then we have a big, wide electricity everywhere. And that, I think, is the very last shot. So this is what happens when you earth yourself. And you can actually see that some of these discharges extend 30, 40 centimeters or more. In fact, I think the largest at the time was the one that caught me by surprise at the beginning. And that was about a 50 centimeter long discharge. Wow. I hope you have enjoyed this how-to guide of can't say the word, photographing your Van de Graaff generator. If you like this, like and subscribe, and go and have a look at all of the other videos in this section.